Imagine standing in your dream wedding dress, surrounded by 300 guests, only to realize the man holding your hand is a stranger, and the woman across from you is a predator. My mother-in-law didn't wait for the reception to show her true colors. She waited until the cameras were rolling and the microphones were live to demand my father's entire legacy, or she'd shut the wedding down. She thought she had me cornered. She thought I was a terrified bride. What she didn't realize was that she just gave me the most public stage possible to ruin her life. If you've ever had someone mistake your kindness for weakness or try to bully you into a corner, this story is for you. Today, we're looking at a case of the wedding day ultimatum and the legendary walkaway that followed. Hit that like button and subscribe if you believe respect is non-negotiable. Let's get into it. My name is Oakley. I'm 27, and for most of my life, security was a word written in my father's sweat. My dad wasn't born with a silver spoon. He was born with a work ethic that would make most people crumble. He spent 40 years in construction and real estate, building 10 condos. 10 units that represented every missed vacation, every late night, and every sacrifice he made for my future. When he passed away 2 years ago, he left them to me. Not as a luxury, but as a fortress. Never let anyone reduce your worth to what they can take from you, he told me. Those words were my North Star. Then came Liam. Liam was charming, soft-spoken, and seemingly supportive. But Liam came with a shadow. His mother, Eleanor. Eleanor was the kind of woman who treated life like a chessboard where she was the only one allowed to move the pieces. For 2 years, she dropped hints. "It's so much for a young girl to manage," she'd say over tea. "Liam is so good with finances. You should really let him hold the keys." I always laughed it off. I thought it was just overbearing mom energy. I didn't realize it was a blueprint for a heist. The wedding day. The illusion of peace. The day was perfect. Or it was supposed to be. I remember the smell of lilies and the way the crystal decorations caught the soft amber light of the ballroom. I felt like I had finally reached the shore after a long storm. I was smiling for photos, my hand tucked into Liam's arm, feeling the weight of the ring. But as we sat at the head table, the air changed. You know that feeling when the barometric pressure drops before a tornado? That was the vibe in the room. Eleanor didn't tap a glass. She didn't wait for the mother of the groom speech. She simply stood up. The room went dead silent. It wasn't a polite silence. It was an instinctive one, the kind of silence that happens when a predator enters the clearing. The ultimatum. The mask slips. She looked at me, not with love, but with the cold, calculating eyes of a debt collector. Her voice was amplified by the silence of the hall. "Oakley," she said, her voice steady and sharp. "We're all here to celebrate a union. But a union is about shared burdens. If you don't forfeit your inheritance rights to those 10 condos today, right now, this wedding is over. We will not have Liam entering a lopsided partnership." The world tilted. I felt the blood drain from my face, replaced by a cold, prickling heat. I looked at the guests. Forks were frozen halfway to mouths. My bridesmaids looked like they'd seen a ghost. I turned to Liam. Surely, he'd stop this. Surely, he'd tell his mother she was insane. But Liam wouldn't look at me. He looked at his shoes. His silence wasn't shock. It was complicity. He knew. He had been coached. He was waiting for me to break, to cry, to sign whatever paper Eleanor probably had tucked in her silk clutch. The internal shift. From prey to predator. In that moment, I didn't feel like a bride. I felt like my father's daughter. Eleanor thought the public pressure would crush me. She thought the shame of a cancelled wedding in front of my boss, my friends, and my family would force my hand. She thought I'd value a white dress over my own soul. But as I watched her smirk, something snapped. The fear didn't just leave, it evaporated. A terrifying clarity took its place. If I said, "I do now," I wasn't entering a marriage. I was entering a life sentence of being bullied by a woman who saw me as an ATM. I looked at the microphone on the stand near the stage. It was meant for toasts. It was meant for happily ever afters. I decided to use it for the truth. I stood up. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I walked toward the microphone. Every step I took, I could feel the power shifting in the room. I could see the panic starting to itch at the corners of Eleanor's eyes. She expected a victim. She got a judge. I gripped the mic. The feedback hummed for a second. Then my voice filled the hall. I want everyone here to understand what was just said. I began. My mother-in-law-to-be just told me that unless I hand over my father's life's work, the legacy he built with his bare hands, this wedding is off. The gasps were like a wave crashing. People started whispering, looking at Eleanor with disgust. I didn't stop. Eleanor, thank you. Thank you for doing this here. Thank you for showing me exactly who you are before I signed a single document. Because you're right, the wedding is off. I turned to Liam. He finally looked up, his face pale. And Liam? Silence isn't a mistake. It's a choice. You chose your mother's greed over your wife's dignity. You don't want a partner. You want a payout. You can keep the ring. I'm keeping the condos, my father's name, and my self-respect. I took off the ring and dropped it. The clink of the diamond hitting the floor sounded like a gunshot in the silent room. Eleanor started to screech, something about me being disrespectful and ungrateful. But nobody was listening to her. The guests were already standing up, not to help her, but to watch her world crumble. I walked off that stage, through the center of the hall, and out the double doors. I didn't look back once. Walking out of your own wedding is the hardest thing I've ever done. But as I stood in the cold night air, I realized something. That wasn't a wedding I lost. It was a trap I escaped. Some losses are actually rescues in disguise. My father's condos are still mine, but more importantly, so is my future. Oakley showed us that the most powerful thing you can do when someone tries to take your worth is to simply walk away and let them sit in the mess they created. If you think she made the right call, smash that like button. What would you have done if your MIL pulled a stunt like this at your wedding? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of people standing their ground. I'll see you in the next one.